Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and I'm very excited to say that I've now released my first ever preset pack, which is now live at jimmypmedia.myshopify.com. The pack costs just £15 and contains 33 presets, which are some of the presets that I've been using in my photography in the last year. And I think this very much represents my photography style and my editing style, which I've been using in my videos. Something to bear in mind with these is that they are just a starting point and not an end product. And also in this video, I'm going to show you some of my editing style, how I use these presets, just to kind of give you an idea of how they're intended to be used. They're not just a one-click filter. They are, like I say, a starting point for you to be able to reach an end product. It's also worth mentioning that these are all XMP files intended for use on Lightroom desktop. I will be looking into releasing a mobile version at a later date. So with all that being said, I am now going to show you how I use these presets with my editing style. I've chosen some newer photos that I've taken and some older ones, which I'm going to kind of re-edit from some of my older videos to just show how my style has changed in the last year compared to how it was then. So hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. So just to give an idea of how I use my presets and how I edit, I've chosen a few photos, some old ones, some new ones, just to show the difference between my editing style back then and how it is now, and just how I use the presets. So to start with, I've got one of the photos from my original Manchester video. So this is how I edited it originally versus the raw shot. I think with the way I would edit it now, would probably be a lot moodier. So that's kind of what I'm going to go for here. So generally how I start when editing, I always, I used to actually do this thing where I would start with 4x5 just for Instagram, but now I just go to custom, kind of crop it down to an area I like. So don't really need much of a crop on this one. I'm pretty happy with that. And then I'll just go to my presets to start with. I think with this one, we want to go with kind of a moodier look. That looks kind of nice, but maybe a bit too grey. So let's see what we can do. So I kind of like the look of using Metro on this one. Gloom looks kind of nice as well. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Metro. So just for a quick look how that looks compared to my original edit, it's just a little bit moodier. I think the colours just stand out a little bit more. It's looking at it now, the original looks a bit more just too exposed for how I would edit it now. So and then from there, really all I do is I kind of just go through all the sliders. I have been adding a lot more masks recently, so something I do a lot now is I'll use a linear gradient like this. And I'll just go from the bottom, about usually maybe a quarter to a third of the way up. And I'll bring down either the exposure, the shadows, a bit of both, just so you get like a nice starting dark at the bottom to lighter at the top kind of thing. That's the best way I can explain it, really. But yeah. So I am going to change the oranges a little bit, just saturate them a little bit more because they are quite bright. So just bring the saturation down a tiny bit. Something I do use a lot is the clarity and dehaze. So just bringing the clarity slightly up on this. And then vignettes I use quite a lot as well. But I have, since I've been using the masks, I've been using them a little bit less. Something else I've been doing a lot recently is in one of the more recent updates, you can create a mask to just choose your subject. So hopefully, let's give it a try. Hopefully it'll just choose the woman in this photo, because that's what I want to bring out here. So yeah, it's chosen her and a couple of people around her. and often I'll sort of just bring the subject up a little bit using the shadows and the clarity, just a little bit, not too much. And I'm actually gonna bring the shadows down a little bit more on the gradient at the bottom, just so it's a little bit darker at the bottom. And I'm gonna bring the vibrance down just slightly as well, and then I'm gonna desaturate it a little bit more because it's just not quite moody enough for how I like it to be. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I do say that these presets aren't one click, but that really didn't take much to get from the click of the preset to that point, which I'm pretty happy with. So yeah, that's the original, and that's my new edit. And honestly, like I was really happy with this shot at the time. This was actually one of my favorites from this video. But looking at the edit now, when I compare it to my new edit, I'm so much happier with how it looks, and I think that just shows how far I've come in developing my own style rather than just using what I was doing before. I was using somebody else's presets and not really changing it much from that point. So yeah, I am actually really happy with that new edit, and it just gives you an example of, especially for street photography, what they can do. Okay, so this next one is a shot I took a couple of nights ago. It was kind of a spontaneous, just took the camera out while walking the dog. It was a really foggy night, so I was kind of inspired to take some shots. The area I'm in is quite it's quite industrial. It's your pretty standard northern English town, but it does look pretty good when there's a lot of fog. So I just took a few shots. So I'm just gonna duplicate it quickly so that we can go back and forth between the original and my edit. Honestly, on the surface, I don't actually think this is that great a shot. It's there's not a lot really going on, but I think using presets we can turn it into something. So I'm going to start by doing the crop like I normally do. Probably bring it up to about there at the floor level, and I kind of want that bridge to kind of just be coming into the top third of the shot. That's about the framing I'll probably actually looking at now. Probably bring it up a little bit. That looks a bit better. So with night shots, generally you do need to do a bit more, especially ones like this. So I'm just going to go through a few of my presets, see what looks good, decide from there the kind of style I'm going to go with. That looks kind of nice. Black Metal Forest, which is it's a really weird one because that preset just works for things it shouldn't do. I basically made it in my forest video. It's like a really dark, sort of moody, green based preset, but it's worked for some weird stuff. Like it just randomly worked for some of the wedding shots I was editing at some point last year. So, but yeah, I do like that. I'm gonna keep that one in mind. And maybe go with that one, but I'm gonna keep looking through here. Two of my go-to ones for night stuff are these ones here, Neon Noir and Nightwave. I use them quite a lot in my Manchester night video. They do have kind of a, if you are going for more of a, sounds really sort of cliche, but like a cyberpunk kind of look, they have a nice blue tint to them, which works well. You know what, I'm going to see what I can do with Gotham here, because I like starting from a point, like a really dark point. So I'm going to bring the exposure up quite heavily, and I think that gives a really nice effect on the lights around the cars. Just bring the contrast down a little bit. I'm going to bring the highlights up slightly just to get a little bit more glare from the lights. And what I'm going to do with this one, same with the last one, I'm going to put that linear gradient on the bottom just to get a bit of a darker bottom half of the photo. And then, so because the sky's so dark around here, I'm gonna use the mask that selects the sky automatically. That's something else I've been doing a lot with shots that have skies in them. And I'm going to bring this up quite heavily with the exposure. And I don't like it's sort of got sort of a brown colour going on, so I'm just going to actually change that in the temperature to more of a blue tone. So having done that, obviously brought the exposure up quite a bit. It's quite grainy, but I do like how that looks. It fits the shot, so I'm pretty happy with that. So, a couple of masks I'm going to add. Areas that I want to highlight. So, I'm going to go with the double yellow lines on the floor. I want to bring them up a little bit and just really bring them out. So I'm going to create this kind of oval shape and just make it cover that area. And then I'm going to bring the shadows up. I'm going to bring the clarity up. In fact, no. You know what? I'm not going to bring clarity up. I don't like that. I'm going to make it down a little bit. And make it more yellow. But then I'm going to saturate that slightly. I think I like how that looks. And another area I want to bring out is just the whole center here with all the cars and the lights. So again, I'm going to bring the shadows up. I'm going to go see what the clarity does to it. And that kind of creates a nice bit of glare from the cars. See what the dehaze does to it actually as well. That I really like in the look of like a lot of glare coming from the cars. It adds to the sort of foggy mood that I was going with in my shots from that night. So and then I'm going to add a couple more for each of the lights. If I bring the dehaze down, it's kind of just making that nice sort of foggy. I'll bring it right down. It makes a really nice foggy effect around those lights. And I'm going to slightly just bring up the exposure on them a little bit more to, again, create a nice foggy effect. And then I'm going to just duplicate that same mask, stick it on the other light up there. That one's just looking a little bit too sort of unrealistic, so. I'll see how it's looking now compared to the original. So it's a pretty big difference, pretty drastic change, but that's kind of how I like to go with my night shots, especially. They're always pretty heavily edited. And you just get kind of a more moody nighttime feel. Okay, so this one is this was one of my favourite shots for a while. It's taken in El Man while I was still living there, at one of my favourite locations, Douglas Head. I've got far too many shots of this lighthouse, but this was one of my favourite ones. But honestly, I think now I can edit it a lot better, so we're going to give that a try. So I'm just going to reset the original edits. That was the original shot. I think the main problem with the way I edited it originally is it's just too. It's very bright. The colours are just a bit too much, like way too vibrant. So I'm going to try and do a more realistic edit. I'm not going to go overly moody with this one. I'm just going to keep it realistic and keep it a little bit closer to the original shot. So again, as always, I'm going to go crop it first. I'm going to, because the horizon is slightly tilted on this one, I'm just going to tilt it that way. Now it's a little bit more level. And then for the crop, just going to bring it so that the lighthouse is occupying a bit more of the middle third of the shot. And I don't really like this lamppost down here either. So I'll see how it looks without that. There we go. I think that's a nice crop for it. Just random spot in the middle of there as well. Must have been something on the lens. But yeah, see a couple of those. If I ever get any of those, I just use the heal tool to get rid of any spots like that. So let's have a look. So yeah, we could go super moody. I actually quite like that, but it's not the sort of look I want to go for here. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with Dreamscape, and you can see already how different that looks. I mean, for one, I don't know what the crop was that I was going for there. It's a bit off, to be honest. I'm not really a fan of that. But yeah, it's the subject, which would be the lighthouse in this case, it's just far too over this side to the right. It's not catching my eye when I look at it, whereas it does a little bit more on this one. So I'm actually going to start with the sky on this one. Something I've been doing recently is in premium presets, which is something that's included in Lightroom anyway. There is actually a section for the sky, these adaptive ones here, and they'll affect just the sky. So I'm going to give those a go. See if I like the look of any of those. The sunrise one's okay, but it's just a bit too yellow, so I'm going to choose it. And then I'm going to go ahead and edit it in the masks. So I'm going to bring the blues back up a bit in that. But yeah, I quite like that now. It's got like a nice kind of haze over the horizon, which I think brings the subjects of the foreground out a little bit better. So again, on this one, I'm gonna choose my subjects. Hopefully it'll detect a lighthouse. If not, we can just add oh yeah, it does, perfect. If not, I would have just added a radial gradient, just to cover the area of the lighthouse. So I'm gonna bring it up a little bit in shadows, and as you can see, this dark area down here is now being brought up by that. I like the shadow on there, so I'm going to keep that there with using dehaze. I'm going to bring the exposure up a little bit on it, so that it's really just making the lighthouse stand out against the rest of the environment it's around. I'm just going to keep going back to the old one just to see in comparison. I am quite happy with how it's looking so far. So on a lot of my landscape shots, I tend to use the color wheels or the color bars. But yeah, so I'm going to start with the blue one and make the sky kind of a slightly more teal color. And I'm going to bring it up a little bit more with the luminance bar. And then the greens, which will be mostly this area here. I often, if I don't have an idea in mind for how I want it to look, I'll kind of just mess about and have a play around. See, that's affecting the sea a little bit there, and I kind of like that it's giving it a little bit of a green tint. So I'm going to bring it up more towards the sort of darker green side. There is a lot of sort of orange tones in this photo, so I'm going to have a little mess about with those and see how that affects things. This is kind of how I go about things often. If I don't have a specific look in mind, I'll just mess about with bars until I find something that I like the look of. So yeah. So something else I'm going to do is I kind of want to bring this whole area, the grass and the rocks, I kind of want to bring this up a little bit and bring it out of the shadows. Not try and make it look too sort of bright. So yeah, on this one I'm not really liking using the linear gradient, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And honestly, I think I'm pretty happy with that compared to the original. It's just a lot nicer to look at now. So actually, one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the tone curve slightly. It's not something I mess with too often, but on this one, I just think it's looking a little bit. The bottom part's looking a bit too hazy, so I'm just going to use this to bring the tones down a little bit. And I'd say I'm pretty happy with that. If you look at it compared to the original, it's just much nicer to look at now. This next one is another one that I took the other night when it was a little bit foggy, and I'm really happy with this one actually. It's got a really nice leading line going down the lampposts, cars in the distance, and you've got the tower here with the red lights on it. So some really good potential actually for making this photo look really nice. So again, I'm going to start with a crop. I'm kind of leaning towards cutting that lamppost out, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, let's give that a go. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Metro. Just going to bring the exposure slight bit up first, and then I'm going to subject. I'm going to choose sky there. Forget that. Go with sky. I just want to bring that up a little bit more. Bring the clarity up. Just going to make those lights look really nice and foggy. As usual, just going to add the linear gradient towards the bottom. Bring the exposure, the shadows down a little bit. So instead of using a radial gradient on the lines, I'm going to select the orange because I'm probably going to come to that. Yeah, if you change the slide there, it's just more orange on there. I'm going to make them a little bit more yellow. And I'm going to saturate them slightly less and bring the luminance up just to really make that leading line stand out a little bit more. This section of the road I kind of want to bring out, so I'm going to put a radial gradient on that. Just bring the shadows up a little bit more, just to kind of really give the effect of these lights shining down upon it, which obviously they are. but I want to make that even more clear in the shot. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. I do want to make these cars in the distance stand out a little bit as well. So again, I'm going to put a radial gradient on it. Just bring the shadows up, bring the clarity up. You've got a bit more light down that end now, just to kind of bring those cars out a bit more. So something else that I don't like is that I think it's because maybe because I messed with the oranges, that it's changed the colour of the towers, the lights on the towers completely, which I did quite like looking red, so we'll try and get that back to how that was. Yeah, so if you use the red slider, it is detecting that those are reds. So I'm going to bring it all the way that way. Then I'm just going to put a gradient. If I bring them, maybe using the hue slider, I can bring that over to the red a bit more. There we go. They're kind of back to the red colour that they were originally now, if you look compared to the original photo. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with how that looks now. One more thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a little bit of grain. I think it kind of fits. I don't often mess with grain, but I think it really fits in this situation. So bump that up to around 20, just make it a little bit grainy. And I'm honestly pretty happy with that. I might just actually take the light out of the top. I just add another gradient. Bring the exposure down, because it's just kind of distracting a bit from the rest of the photo. And there we go. I'm happy with that shot. Okay, so the last one I'm going to go with is this one, another one from my original Manchester video. I think the main thing to talk about here is the crop on the original. I think this was when I was just putting everything down to 4:5 for Instagram purposes, and sometimes it does ruin it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and not crop it at all. Just keep that as the image. And again, I do like this shot. This is one of my favorite ones from that video, but I think I can do it better now. So let's give it a go. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. We're gonna go with glue. So okay, so first thing first, the man in the photo is a lot less visible now that I've brought it down to a moodier tone. So I'm just going to bring the shadows up on him a little bit and the exposure slightly, and there we go. I did say I was going to try not to crop this, but I'm now thinking just bring that up a little bit, and that's a nice little crop there. I'm going to add a linear gradient up to about there. Just bring the bottom half of that photo down. So yeah, just going back to already at this point, it's already looking a lot better. The subjects are just standing out in a lot more a nice way. The flag and the man, compared to that one where, for whatever reason, I left the wall looking really yellow, and it's all just kind of blending in. So yeah, I'm already much happier with that, but let's see what else we can do with it. I do want to bring the flags out a little bit more as well. So I'm just going to put a radial gradient on them. Just bring the shadows up, bring the clarity up, not too much. I do still want to keep some element of moodiness. So I'm just going to bring the saturation down a little bit more. Then I'm just going to mess with the overall clarity. Just increase it a little bit, the dehaze, and actually just going to bring out the shadows on the man a little bit more, just to make him really a lot more visible. And there we go. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So again, if you look at the original, again, these are shots that I was really happy with originally, and it's not really until now when I'm going back to re-edit them that I'm noticing how much better it could have been. And that's just an example of you know, what these presets that I've made can do. So yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of how I use these presets. Like I said, they aren't just a one-click thing; they are a starting point. But that's just an example of how you can get from that starting point to a finishing point. And apologies too if my sort of descriptions of how I'm editing has been a little bit vague. It's sort of the first time I just get on with it. I don't really think. I'm just changing sliders and that kind of thing. But it's something, if I do more of these videos, hopefully something I can get better at. I have thought about the idea of maybe sort of live streaming some editing as well, if that's something you guys would be interested in. If it is, let me know, and it's maybe something we could give a try. But yeah, this is a little bit different to my normal videos, but it's been fun to do. It's been fun to record. I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, my presets are now available to buy, so yeah, go check them out in the link below, and I'll see you next time. So thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like, please subscribe. I am getting so close now to 500 subscribers, and I'm hoping to reach that by Christmas. That'll be a really great Christmas present. So yeah, subscribe if you enjoy my work. Also go give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter, where I post the shots from these videos. As I said at the start of the video, my preset pack is now available at jimmypmedia.myshopify.com. It's £15 for 33 presets. If you do use the presets, please tag me in your shots if you post them on social media. Also use the hashtag Jimmypmedia. And what I'll start doing is taking a look through that hashtag and maybe post some of the shots that are my favourite ones at the end of some of my videos. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.